I have to start by apologising. My name is Peter Overbury. I'm the Deputy Principal of the school. I must apologise for Margaret Carley. She would have loved to have spoken with you today and presented this information, but unfortunately, today is also the culmination of our Year 5 and 6 students' debating course that they've been doing. So it's what they call their grand finale, and it's a very special time where they put together all of the skills they've been learning, and she has, it's part of her role to bear witness to that growth and development as those students, some of them will be leaving us and moving on to secondary school next year. So unfortunately, we can't be in two places at once, but she sends her apologies and also encourages you all to continue to communicate with the school if you've got any questions about your child's transition or beginning of school experience. And she and the team, all of us, will do our best to help. And I'd also like to just formally introduce Marina Russo, who's one of our prep teachers who will be teaching on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, and Marie Georgiadis, our other prep teacher who will be teaching on Thursdays and Fridays. So welcome everyone to today, and we look forward to speaking with you more about your child's transition to school and answering usually a lot of the more important questions, which are, what time, what day, what do I bring, how do I help them get ready for school? So if everyone else who's not currently presenting could put their microphones on mute, we'll do a bit of dialogue and talking first. And then after that, we'll move to a time when you can ask questions. So please just let us know how that goes for you and if you have got questions along the way. So hopefully everyone can see my screen, which is presenting the information for this session today. Let's start by something that's very important to us at St Anthony's is acknowledging the land on which we meet. And I know that even though this is a virtual meeting, we would just like to acknowledge the original custodians of this land and pay our respects to the elders, both past, present and emerging, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and hopes of Indigenous Australia. We would normally begin every day with our students and meeting or gathering with a prayer. So today we're going to pray the Our Father, which is just a short way of us bringing God into this space today and helping us to gather together as a community, and our common bond is our faith. So if that is part of your faith experience, you're welcome to participate and join in. Equally, you may just feel more comfortable to observe this prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So our brief agenda for this meeting, and Sam, I'd like to welcome you. I can see that I've finally made the link work for you and you're very welcome today. We have a few other parents with us, and what we've said, Sam, is because we're recording this session, you're welcome to keep your camera on, but you're also welcome to turn it off because we will share the recording with other families as well along the way. So just for your information today. So our agenda is really welcoming you all to this session, but also welcoming you to our school community more formally, and your children, who we are very excited to be a part of our school community next year. We're going to talk a little bit about Catholic education today. I think there have been a lot of things that have changed over time, and we just want to orient you to the foundational drivers of our school community, and then we'll talk a little bit more about St Anthony's and what sets us apart. And then afterwards, we'll draw on both Marie and Marina's experience as prep teachers, and also I think a little bit as parents who've experienced this for their own children, to talk with you about what you can expect what you need to know, and hopefully calm and answer some of those questions that you will have about what you can do for your child. And then I'll finish up by talking a little bit more about some of the other networks that are part of our school community and that you can just be aware of, because it may be either next year or in subsequent years, it might be something that you would like to be a part of as well. So something that's, I think, changed, we aren't a traditional Catholic school. We aren't a school that is looking for children to simply accept a faith experience and to participate in that. We want them to be students who discover and take on adventures and to develop really strong connections with friends and with other important people in the community. Our mission really is to shape the hearts and minds for a lifetime of success, to make sure that our children are really best equipped to experience the world and to achieve success in the world. Something that's core and fundamental to our school community are our values, and we reiterate these values, so we refer to them with our smallest students right through to our oldest students in Year 6. And those values are respect, empathy, inclusion, and excellence. Respect is a fundamental importance for us because it really shapes both how we act towards others, and it shapes how we, I think, also look after ourselves. So we encourage our students to make sure that they are always open-minded, they're respectful. We emphasize acceptance rather than tolerance when it comes to respect, because it's not about tolerating other people's ideas. It is about accepting that we all have different viewpoints and different experiences, and we want to make sure that we take that into consideration when we're dialoguing with others. That's a very important part of our community. Empathy. Empathy is moving beyond sympathy, feeling sympathetic towards someone's life experience or their circumstances. Empathy is trying to imagine yourself in that person's shoes. And we emphasize and we explicitly teach our children how to become empathic individuals so that they can connect with others in a really positive and enriching way. Inclusion is fundamentally important to our school community. In fact, that's the essential foundation for what it means to be Catholic. We include others. We want them to feel that they belong and that they are fundamentally important and have value and dignity in our community. So our final school value is excellence. That excellence is not about perfection. Excellence is about achieving your best so that every student in our school gets exactly what they need to be able to succeed. And we make sure that our children develop a level of resilience through that too. So where they find something challenging, where they maybe are uncertain about whether or not they can succeed, we ask them to strive to do their best, to have a go, and to see that those mistakes that we make, those things that challenge us, are all part of learning. You can't learn something new if you don't fail some of the time, if you don't fall or make a mistake or get something not quite right. And it's really important that we strive for that excellence, that success for every single student. We're a welcoming Catholic school. I think if you've watched any of our promotional videos, you'll have got that message through everything that Margaret has described. And the thing that sets our school apart is certainly the dedicated staff that we have here. It isn't about focusing just on teachers and what they contribute. It is about our support staff, those who work in administrative roles, those who lead our teachers and lead our school. And our school very much identifies the importance of meeting the personal and individual needs of every student. So every child matters in our school, and we are always striving to create bright futures for every child. Sorry, I should put my phone on Do Not Disturb. That's a really important thing. Glad I could share that with you all. So there are a couple of things. Sorry, I just want to continue with this slide first. So Part of our role is to also make sure that we create a close partnership with parents. You, as your child's first educators, have far more knowledge, awareness and skill when it comes to working with your child than we will ever have. We will strive to be their next best educator, but you are always going to be incredibly important in their journey. And so it's really important that from our perspective, you see your place in this school as a partnership, that you connect with us whenever you need to, communicate what you believe is important for your child, and also ask questions as you need to as well. Because sometimes I think, like any setting, we can feel we've been clear or feel we've communicated something well, but we're almost in it so much that we feel, we know it better. And we sometimes need you to tell us, actually, we've still got more questions, or no, that wasn't quite clear. It always helps. So that ongoing dialogue is very important. We know that every day our students experience Christian values. So part of those values we've spoken about. And we also very much centre a lot of the learning that our children do in religious education around the person of Jesus and who he was and what particular qualities we can try and emulate, which he, I think, really promoted that were important. I'm going to shift gears a little bit now. So we've talked a bit about the overarching importance of our school, where we're positioned as St. Anthony's and what we believe is important in terms of a Catholic education. Some of the other things that you need to know as parents, and this is just some general information, because the child safe standards, which were originally came from the Royal Commission into Childhood Institutional Sexual Abuse. So from that, the child safe standards were highlighted as an important priority for every single organisation that works with children. Something that we ask of all of our families, every single adult in our community, is that we welcome you to be a part of your child's education and we welcome you into our school setting, COVID safely. But we also ask that you obtain a volunteer working with children check should you want to participate in school excursions. If you would like to maybe come out and support any work in the classroom, there'll be times, hopefully in the future, where we can have parents back on site assisting and supporting in the classroom, seeing your children in those early phases of their education and assisting other children as well. But we do ask that every family has that. And if you need any assistance obtaining that working with children check, we're very happy to help with that. But unfortunately, we can't ask any family to work with children if they don't have that. So it's just an important part of our why. We do it because the safety of all children and young people is of fundamental importance to our school community. In terms of the classroom culture, Marie and Marina over time will develop a culture and an environment which is enabling of learning. So they'll work with the children around something called their classroom culture statement, which will, I think, in dialogue with the children, will help them to understand what are the behaviours that I need to show for this to be a positive learning environment for me and for my friends here at school. That will be communicated to families. We usually do that fairly early on in the school year through our school newsletter. Our prep children are very, very lucky, as are our Year 1 children, because they'll be in a class together. We have got enough Year 6 students that every child in the class will have a buddy next year. During the orientation session tomorrow, the Year 6s who will be a buddy to your children will have a photograph taken together and they'll learn a little bit about each other, so that when they come home, we'll be able to email through to you some information about their buddy. Some of them may even have 2, which will be really, I think, very positive. They'll be wrapped up and looked after quite wonderfully next year. And that buddy connection is so important because not every child's coming from a childcare centre or a kinder where they've got a lot of their friends from that setting. So it's nice to know that there's a special child, an older child at school, who's here just for them, to look out for them. And the sessions that they have are really wonderful to observe, which I think Marie and Marina could attest to. They're really, they're quite beautiful, the relationship they develop. And I know that even for some of our year sixes, they go on to maintain that relationship, and they'll exchange gifts in the future, and they'll still talk about their buddy when they're in year six and how great that experience was for them. When it comes to communication, we want to have a really open dialogue with you as parents. We would love for you to email us whenever you have any concerns or questions. We do our best to respond in a timely fashion, but just something to be aware of, because Marie and Marina are both working 3 days and 2 days, I encourage you to email them both whenever you want to send a message, just so that if, say, you email Marina on a Wednesday and she's not in the next day, Marie has also seen that communication. And if there's anything to act on, that can happen fairly promptly. So please do that. And both of their email addresses are there. If you can either watch back this presentation or take a little screenshot and put that into your contacts on your whatever platform you use for email communication, that would be great. And that way, hopefully nothing will go through to spam as well. We also have some other forms of communication for our families. We have Seesaw, which is an application that you can download onto an Android or onto an iDevice. And Seesaw allows teachers to send out little pictures to you each day or across the week, which keeps you informed about some of the things happening in the classroom. I'm a bit reluctant to describe it as Facebook for school, but it has a somewhat similar approach where there's the class of students. You can connect parents to that, so you'll be able to see images that come through or short videos, and you'll be able to send little comments either to the message the teacher has sent out, or you can also directly message the teacher through that platform as well. So it's a great way to give parents a very quick update over something happening, or to send out a bit more information about, it's book week next week, just remember to get your costume organised, those sorts of things. It's a quick and easy way of keeping you abreast of what's happening at school. We also just have general email communication, our newsletter, which we encourage you to subscribe to. And also we have meetings with parents. So very early in term 1, you will have a time set with your child's teacher to talk with them about I think generally give them a bit more information about your child. You can do a little check-in, how have they settled so far, and just to connect with the teacher and start to begin to develop that relationship with them so that you feel really comfortable about the level of communication you need, and that you feel assured that the relationship is being developed with your child as well. Now, I can't tell you why this next word, Operoo, is called Operoo. It used to be called Care Monkey. So if you're familiar with that because of your child's setting, they might do a sport or something which uses this. Essentially, Operoo is a way of keeping a student profile. You'll be sent an invitation by the school office, and in it you'll complete some information about your child, their name, their date of birth, your home address. There'll also be your contact information as parents, mother and father, and then there's also the option to put in what we call emergency contacts. There's some information you can provide about your child's medical needs, and there's also some more information there about consent for different things. So this is the mode where we are provided with medical information about students. It's also the way that we would ask you to provide permission for an excursion, or give permission for us to use your child's photo in, say, a publication where you can accept or decline according to your particular wishes. So it's a really important thing to do fairly quickly, and please make sure that you put not just yourselves but also those emergency contacts, because if your child's unwell at school and we're not able to contact you, we'll use this to determine who else we can call to get them collected from school perhaps, or to speak with about a minor injury or something like that. And then finally, we don't have a school nurse, but we do have a nurse which will come into school towards, it's usually mid to later on in their prep year. We haven't had that this year due to COVID, but the nurse visit is entirely elected by you if you want the nurse to see your child or not. And the school nurse will just do some very basic screening assessments. So checking your child's vision, checking their hearing, listening to them speak to make sure their speech development is appropriate. Sometimes they'll also contact you as well if you've asked for them to call you, just to follow up and see that their health and development is typical for a child their age, and to let you know if they've picked up any sort of little questions that they might want you to explore further through a medical practitioner, for example. Okay, I think that's enough of me. I'd really like to hand over to Marie Georgiadis now, who will talk with you a little bit more about the day-to-day things. And Marie is, as a child who's in prep this year, so she's walked the very up and down journey, I think, which has been her child's first year of school. So she has a lot of expertise in this area. So please, if you need to ask questions at any point, it's a good opportunity to do so. Okay, so Marie, over to you.
Thank you. Can you all see me?
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I put my camera on, but for some reason it's not working. So I apologise for not seeing me. It was working before. So firstly, I suppose the day-to-day things that we need to know to get our child ready for school. Like Peter said, I've got a prep child this year who went through her first year. So I suppose there's some things that helped me get her ready for school. So in terms of starting off, before your day starts, it's what happens at home. So getting a child ready out the door when you might need to get ready for work, get other siblings, whether to school or childcare. So that morning period is really important to set off their day and your day. So I found that having a checklist of the things that they need to do in the morning to prepare for school. So I had a picture of what they needed to do, whether it was eat breakfast, put on their school clothes, put their bag, their lunchbox in their bag, brush their teeth, just a few simple things that can help you and also create that independence and confidence and ownership of what they're doing. Really sets off that day right for everybody. So getting them to tick it off as they do it, it creates a bit more excitement of getting to school as well. So all that preparation stuff really helps everyone get out of the door on time at school as well. Also, in terms when they get to school, obviously I'm not sure what the start of the year is going to look like, whether with COVID, where the parents are coming into the classroom. But either way, we want to create that independence for the students. We want them to be able to carry their own school bag in, put their bag in their school bag in their locker, get out their water and their lunchbox and their brain food. So at 10 o'clock, we have what's called brain food or a fruit break, where they have a piece of fruit. So it could be fruit or vegetable. So just sort of that in between, when they get to school and recess at 11 o'clock, it gives them a bit of a break in between their reading and writing activities. So they get all of those things out. And their preps this year, obviously with COVID, just transitioned perfectly fine, doing all of that all by themselves. So it's just creating that to begin with, and we'll help them obviously establish those routines and procedures in the classroom, and that's something that we will do and work through all of first term anyway, setting up those routines with them. So I think that's really important to get them to do that themselves, whether later on in the term or second term when they're changing their readers and things like that, we'll help them. And obviously on arrival, we get them obviously to wash their hands, which is something which is automatic for the preps this year, coming in, washing their hands, and we do that as well before and after they eat or entering or exiting the classroom. So it's just that nice hygiene to start, with the preps, and we'll continue that on obviously with or without COVID, which is something that they need to do. In the mornings, we also have what's called meditation. So we'll start the bell just before 9, where there will be some quiet music playing, and really sets the students off into a calm and relaxing and focus for the day. So they'll sit there and we'll sit in a circle and we'll start with meditation and then move on to prayer. So just something that I suppose centers them and ready to start their day. In terms of classroom procedures and routines, we'll establish those with the students together. So it's something that we do together, so they have that ownership as well of what needs to be done and the expectations. We go through the classroom routine in terms of, what happens for the day, whether we start off with our English in the morning, our mathematics, and integrated in our middle block, and that last hour, whether that's religion, developmental play, social and emotional learning. We'll stipulate that for the day for the kids so that they know what is going on each day. And obviously other days we have their specialist classes as well. And obviously next year we'll find out when those days will be so that we know what days they need to wear their sports uniform and things like that. So that's pretty much, I suppose, getting your kids ready for the day. I think the main message from that is just to, establish those routines with your child, and allow them to take some ownership and responsibility of what they're doing to get them ready to be in the classroom and work together with the other students. So I think that was the main thing that I wanted to, I suppose, focus on for that bit there. So I don't know if anyone has a question now or whether we save that for later. There's another slide at the end that will go through some more things as well. So over to you, Peter. I think if no one's got any questions for the moment, we can have them at the end as well.
Yeah, that's no problem. Thank you so much, Marie. That's fantastic. Routine.
Apologies about my video, so I don't know what happened.
It's all right. It's not a problem.
It says on.
These things do happen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. Now we'll hand over to Marina Russo to talk with us a little bit more about English and then mathematics at school.
Thank you, Peter. Can everybody hear me? Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so we are mandated to teach and report to the Victorian curriculum, and I will speak about English and maths. So at St Anthony's, we prioritise religious education, English and maths. So English is actually broken up into 4 components: oral language, speaking and listening, reading and viewing, and writing. So we know that for our year prep students, they need lots of developmental play. So they need lots of opportunities to play and explore and talk about their play as well. So, for example, if they're in the sandpit and they're building a castle, talking about the buckets and the spades that they may be using to build, talking about what their castle looks like, who may live in the castle, for example. So it's really that rich vocabulary that we want to draw out from developmental play. And it's also an opportunity for the children to use developmental play for socialisation as well. So speaking with their peers, taking turns to listen to each other. Our oral language also incorporates a lot of visual imagery. So what we do in the morning is we either present the children with a visual image, or I may give them a scenario, for example, a stormy night. And if the prompt is something visual, we look at the pictures, and again, we talk about what do you see in the picture, what could potentially be happening in the picture. We also bring in their own life experience as well. If they're visualizing, so if they're imagining something, they close their eyes, they get a visual image in their mind, and then they may draw that, and then they may discuss that with their classroom peers. So that oral language, it's very, very important in the early years. And what it actually does is it actually sets them up for really good reading skills in the future as well. So speaking and listening actually ties in quite nicely with that. So we have opportunities throughout the day across all subjects to talk about events such as our weekends, to talk about what we did during recess and what we did during lunchtime. It even presents with opportunities for children to explain their thinking. So if they're solving a mathematical problem, let's talk about how you solved that. So speaking and listening really is incorporated across the whole day and across all subject areas. Even when we're reading picture story books, when we're linking it to our inquiry topics. So it could be science, geography, history. And also, again, like I said, just, taking turns to listen to each other, acknowledging other people's opinions as well. So that's really important too. And I'll just move on to the next slide, which is about reading. So what we really want to do with reading is we want to encourage a love of reading. So what we do is we obviously teach the children how to read, but more importantly, we want them to enjoy reading. So that is first and foremost. And ways we do that is the children will have a weekly library lesson where they're taken to the library, they're read a story, they're spoken to and shown how a library works. They have an opportunity to borrow a book, bring that home and return it the next week, and then the process starts all over again. And as teachers and as parents ourselves, we really want to be modelling that love of reading, that enjoyment of reading. So every day after lunch, the children sit down, or as they've now become accustomed to, they'll grab a pillow that's in the reading corner, they'll lie down on the pillow, and I'll just read a story. And we just spend that good 10 minutes just enjoying that story. And it may not be related to a particular curriculum component that's been taught that day, but it's just pure love and enjoyment of reading. What we do is we look at the pictures and we relate that to our personal experience as well. So you'll find that children love to talk about themselves, especially when they're in prep. They're quite egocentric. So it's always really great when you start reading a book and they can relate to it. So if the book is about the beach, they'll tell you about how they went to the beach on the weekend and they had fish and chips and all that sort of thing. So it's really important to ensure that we bring in their own personal experiences as well. So in prep, what we do is we focus on phonological awareness and phonics. So without going into an extreme amount of detail, because I can talk about those things for many hours, basically phonological awareness is hearing the sounds in words, and our phonics is knowing that the letter S is called the letter S by its name, and it makes the sound S, and that we can then join those sounds with other sounds to read words. So phonics is a very big focus in prep. And then what we need to ensure that we're doing is that we're also making sure that we expose the children to really rich vocabulary. And part of that is done through our speaking and listening with each other. It is actually also done through the literature that we're reading and through the explicit teaching. So we really want to be building that really rich vocabulary as well. And once they have those sounds and they can put those all together to read words, then we focus on their fluency, which is basically making sure that they can read with accuracy and at a really good pace. And whilst the children are reading, it's just really important, and you can do this yourselves when you're reading with your child, to ask them questions just to gauge their understanding of what they're reading, relate it to their personal experience as well. I'll now move on to writing. So in the prep year, our focus on writing is about fine motor skills. So it's correct pencil grip, it's positioning our paper properly, and it's also sitting properly. So I know when the children come into prep, a lot of them like to kneel on their chairs because they are, quite little and they haven't quite grown into the tables and chairs yet. So it's really encouraging them to sit properly, to hold their pencil correctly and position their paper correctly, because what we want to do is we really want those behaviours down packed so we can avoid them from getting tired when they're writing. So we have a really big focus on handwriting and letter formation. And then we move on to basic sentence structure. So starting our sentences with capital letters, ending them with the full stop. And then we move into, for prep, a little bit more complex punctuation. So we look at question marks, exclamation marks, commas, quotation marks. So our other subject that we prioritise is maths, and maths has different strands in it. So number, measurement, chance and data, and graphing as well. So we really prioritise number. So number is the main focus. So we start each of our maths session with a tool time. So basically we focus on counting forwards, counting backwards from a given number. We focus on numbers before, numbers after. We show the children flashcards of objects up to 5, and we hope that they can instantly recall that. So they see 5 dots on a flashcard and they know that that's 5, and also correct formation of our numerals as well. We also look at our seasons, our days of the week, our months of the year, and telling the time to o'clock. When we look at chance, we look at vocabulary such as like, unlikely, certain, and impossible. So we come up with scenarios and the children tell you what events could be likely and unlikely, certain and impossible. They love dreaming up scenarios about what could be impossible, such as a dinosaur flying into our classroom is impossible. So that's always a really fun one to teach. We look at 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional shapes. So what are the characteristics of those? And we also teach the preps how to conduct simple surveys. So it could be finding out what people's favourite colour is, and they collect that information and then they put that into a simple bar graph, and then they can interpret that and say the most popular colour in our class is purple.
Thank you so much, Marina. That's fantastic. So if I'm going off my memory,
that's me.
Marina,
can you see me now?
Next section. Great.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
All right. So there's a few things that I suppose that will help the students when they come into prep, and that's just encouraging these things that we've got listed here. So toileting. So obviously children go to the toilet at home. The toilet looks obviously a little bit different at school, especially I suppose the boys' toilets, they have a urinal. So I don't know if they have seen one before, if they've used one before. So if they haven't, it might be a good idea to encourage them to use one if you're out at the shops and there's public toilets and they need to go to the toilet, to use them, just so that they are familiar with how to use the toilet when they come to school. There's also toilets as well with a closed door, so they can also use that as well if they feel more comfortable. So whatever makes them feel comfortable, but explaining to them that's what they're going to see when they come to school, the 2 different, I suppose, toileting options. And also, letting them know that they can tell the teacher if they need to go to the toilet. We always provide opportunities before class begins, whether it's when they come in the classroom first thing in the morning. We might say, if anybody needs to go to the toilet, now's your time to go, just so we don't have all those disruptions during our learning time. And same with recess and lunch outside. The first bell goes for the students, and that's their time to go to the toilet, have a drink of water, and then line up at in their line ready to come into the classroom. Jumpers, I suppose it's getting them used to taking them off and putting them back on. So practicing that with their own school jumper might be handy, or another jumper at home, so that when they're in the classroom, they're able to do that independently. We are obviously there to help, and I still help mine sometimes too. Put them on and off, and obviously reminding them that to take care of those things. So when we're not wearing it, that we put it in our bag, and those are things that we'll also be doing in the classroom. Shoes and runners. So if your child has shoelaces, I know that, my daughter can't do her shoelaces still, but if there's a chance that, it's easier to get Velcro, so it makes it easier. They're not really taking their shoes off and on, but in terms of if their shoelaces come undone, if they want to start practicing that, it's a skill that obviously takes quite a long time to master. But if you want to start with that, that's fine as well. Otherwise, Velcro is much easier because they don't have to worry about tying their shoelaces. Lunches. Okay, so obviously I mentioned that we have brain food, our fruit snack at 10 o'clock. If you can pack that, it doesn't need to be a big, a whole lot of food, but for fruit time, it can be a banana, an apple. It can be cut up to be easier for them to use to sit down and eat. It can be vegetables cut up. It can be just something that that they're going to eat, not too big, just something small. It's probably about 5 or 10 minutes that they'll be sitting down and eating. And some students eat quickly, some are a little bit slower. So just knowing your child and what you think they can manage for the day. Recess is usually it's a smaller block. We always give the preps a little bit longer to eat anyway. So they don't get the 10 minutes. They generally get 20 minutes or so to eat. Obviously, it takes them a long time to, I suppose, focus on their food and get that in, so that they can then want to get out and play. But so recess, I suppose, just a healthy snack. So it could, what your child normally eats, whether it's crackers, a cheese stick, or a yogurt, things like that. Your child, and same with lunch. So a sandwich, sushi, whatever. If you've got a thermos and you put something in a thermos, that's fine. Things like that, that they can manage to eat at school. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot. It can be smaller. Sometimes we get them to have a little bit of their lunch at recess. If they are feeling a little bit more hungry and want something more substantial, they can eat half their lunch at recess and eat the remainder at lunchtime. So just, I suppose, it's finding out those first few weeks how they're managing and what they're enjoying, or how they manage to get that all in the time that we give them. So I suppose that's just something to look out for. Sunscreen. So just teaching them how to apply their sunscreen on those hot days. They all need to bring in their own individual sunscreen. I find the roll-on is the best and easiest and less messy option. And the kids love putting it on. When I say, okay, it's time to put our sunscreen on, and they're quite quick at it. So it's just rolling it on their arms, their legs, and a little bit on their face. They're only out for that, half an hour in the afternoon, but in obviously those hot days, it can get quite warm. So just getting them to be able to manage that by themselves, because they need to do that themselves. Carrying their own school bag, I already talked about that. Just it creates that independence and responsibilities. We want them to be doing those things themselves. It's much easier, obviously, for us to do, but we want them to be able to do it. When you've got, 15 or so kids in the class, you want them to be able to become responsible for their own things and help where you need to help as well. And resilience, I suppose it's just we focus on the resilience throughout the school, and it's just encouraging them to how to recover from incidents or things that they're unsure of, and how to deal with those unexpected situations. So we we do activities and lessons about resilience. So maybe just talking with your children, if something happens, what can we do? Whether that's at home or school, if they mention things, well, how can we help? How can we deal with that? How can we help you? Or what strategies can we use? Or what's another way you could have handled that? And if there's anything that comes up, generally the kids are quite happy and are dealing with things quite well. So I think they've had their kinder experience, and now they're, I suppose, ready for their prep, their time in prep as well. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything about anything they think that they need to know before coming to school or anything like that. Everyone's pretty, I think we covered most things that will help them, I suppose, their first year of school successful. No, okay.
It's almost a first, I think.
Sorry, you guys. We were just wondering, do they need an afternoon snack as well?
No. So our eating times are brain foods, our fruit time at 10 o'clock. Then we have our recess at 11 and our lunch at 1:30. So that's all they have time for. So just three sort of snacks or meals that they have or opportunities to eat. So that's plenty. Awesome. They might be hungry as soon as they get in the door, which I probably guarantee they will be. But yeah. Just the 3.
Thank you.
That's okay.
So it's Oksana here. I just wanted to ask as well, I think you mentioned that year ones and preps will be together next year. So do they all follow the same routine, or are they sort of separated in the classroom, or how does it work?
Okay, Margaret, you go.
Oh, sorry, it looks as if your microphone's off. Sorry, Marie. Look, it is a small class of prep enrolments for next year. So as far as having to organise the structure, we decided to put the preps and ones together because the ones are small as well too. So it's only a class size of about 20, 22 children. So the class size is small, which is manageable for the curriculum. And I'll let Marie or Marina talk about the curriculum component of it.
Okay, so in terms of the curriculum, the Prep 1 curriculum, there are things that cross over, and there are things that I suppose are seamless that go through both. So in terms of teaching the curriculum, we will be fine, because there are things that a prep student can do that that a year one can't, and vice versa. There'll be preps that they're doing really well and they might be working at a level 1. So it's just managing. It's more individualized in terms of thinking of it as a Prep 1. We won't be looking at them as in separate in that way. We'll be looking at where their needs are and where we can help them. So your child might be really good at maths, and they might be working at a higher level, and they might be doing different activities than, say, a prep, your standard prep child would, or, it could be the other way with English. They might need a bit of assistance in terms of their phonics or their vocab, or it might be doing really well in writing. So it all just depends on the individual child. And that's when our testing comes into it, where we can see where they're at and how we can support and help them. So I think in terms of, I know probably your reservations are, having a Prep 1, but I think if we look at it as a more of an individualized person, then I think that's the best way to do it. And that's like with any other class, whether it's a 1, 2 or a 3, 4, you have your varying degrees of capabilities and needs, and it's just, looking at each individual child. So I hope that puts you at ease there.
Thank you.
Marie, did you want to speak to rest days as well? Or Marina?
I think Marina was.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Peter. So the preps will be starting on Thursday, the 28th of January. And on that day, they will be finishing school at 1:30. They'll then come back on Friday, the 29th of January, and they'll also be finishing at 1:30 as well. So they just have the 2 days that are half days on that day. So they'll have their brain food and they'll have their morning snack, but they won't be having their lunch with us on those days. What we do here at St Anthony's is that every Wednesday in February, we call those a rest day. So our prep students don't come to school on those Wednesday. Also, in terms of activities that you could possibly do with them during the holidays, yesterday they would have brought home a show bag, and in that show bag are some laminated sheets with their names, and the names are printed in Victorian modern cursive script, which is the print that we teach them to write in. There's also some letter and some number tracing activities, and there's a letter name and sound game in there too. We've made sure that everything is laminated, so once your child has completed that activity, you can actually wipe that laminated sheet clean and they can redo the activity. So they're just really good pre-preparation activities that your child may like to do. And of course, there's no obligation to do those, but you find that the children generally do enjoy doing those as well.
One thing that's really important to point out is that the children will be tired, very, very tired. You'll find you have a tired little person at the end of every day. So February, March is not the time to take up a brand new sport or 4 different extracurricular activities after school. Just see how your child goes before you decide whether or not you want them to do some other things outside of school as well. Now, Mrs. Carley, did you want to finish off our prep information session for today?
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending. So what you will, for those who are new to our school, there are 3 main partnerships that we deal with, and these will be just terminologies that you'll sort of, become familiar. You'll see them probably in the newsletter or whatever. The first one is our school advisory team, and that is a group of parents who have been elected by the community, by the school community, to really be an advisory team. So once a term, Peter, myself, along with Father Pritchard, our parish priest, we meet together, and it's really just to sort of discuss, for us, I suppose, the school, to let them know the things that will be going on. It could be anything from policies that we have implemented or changing, school uniform discussions, discussions about lots of different sort of administrative things that they will sort of we discuss and value their input, and then sort of share it with the rest of the community. The Parents and Friends Association, again, is an elected body. It is actually open to all families, but there is a core committee, and that core committee has Troy and Scott, who are the co-presidents, and we had our AGM just on Tuesday night. And because of the year that it's been, they haven't really been doing any sort of fundraising type activities. And I'm sure you probably be fairly familiar with that, either in a kinder or in a creche sort of setting. And what these funds, what the PFA really do is about bringing the community together from a social aspect. So it could be anything from a night here, or to start off with, it's our picnic on the green. So we'll confirm a letter just with dates again for next year. And one of the things that we'll be doing is on a Friday, I think it's the 5th of February, is that we all gather together I'm just going to go to that date now. The 5th of February, where we just have an informal, everyone brings their own lunch or dinner, and then we sort of sit down to meet everyone, very informal gathering, and then not a fundraising event, just a social event. And then there'll be other events during the course of the year to raise funds for the school, for the children, so that the funds that are raised go towards things that we've bought in the past, things like upgrading the library. The PFA supported the school, the green area, the turfed area, the PFA supported the school as well with that too. So just depends what the school believes is sort of a focus that parents then help to fundraise, and in the end see the items that might be out there. So 2 very core important bodies, and information is always put in to either our school newsletter. There's a Parents and Friends page in our newsletter as well too, and the school advisory team with Karen, who is the chairperson, will issue a once a term update of what the board has been sort of talking about. And then last of all, our out of school care program is led by Youth Leadership Victoria. You would have had a pack about their information in the pack that the children took home yesterday, but just a core group of staff who work with us either before or after care, or if we needed for curriculum days. And the girls that lead it are wonderful girls. So to me, that's 3 main partnerships that working with our school and sort of, call to support us through the course of the school. So are there any questions about that at the moment? So you've all been overloaded with information today too. the office, you may have questions you think no one else has thought of, or you think they're dumb questions, or I'm sure that people have already thought those questions and they're never dumb enough, all right? Or, if you need clarification, we're always there to support not just a child, but the family as well too. So just want to say thank you for choosing our school. I'd like to say thank you for Peter for initiating the meet today. I had a grand final for debating with the grade 5 6s that I needed to be part of. So just want to say thank you so much for being part. I hope you all have a fantastic holiday, Christmas if you celebrate it, and can't wait to your child starts in a proper environment at our school. We will be sending further information, just confirming everything that was sort of said today, or just the last minute details before receiving. And I probably think that maybe emailing might be better than Australia Post at the moment. So just keep your eyes out through the holidays, just for any emails that might come through from the office. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.